I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 8 years now. We met in college, and honestly, I thought we had the kind of relationship that could weather anything. She was sharp, funny, a little bitchy at times, but I liked that about her. She always had a comeback, a sharp tongue that kept things interesting. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but overall, I thought we were solid. Lately, though, I'd started noticing small things that didn't quite add up. She'd be coming home later than usual, claiming she was working late or meeting with friends. Her phone was always on silent when I'd try to look at it, and she'd get defensive if I asked about her whereabouts. The worst part, she started shutting me out more. No more easy conversations, no more cuddling on the couch. It was like she was deliberately pulling away. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I could feel something wasn't right. One night, I decided to do a little digging. Nothing crazy, just look through her recent texts, her social media. I found some odd messages with a number I didn't recognize. Nothing explicit, but enough to make my stomach turn. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off, called me paranoid, said I was imagining things. That's when I started feeling the first sparks of doubt. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down, I knew something was going on. I just didn't have proof yet. I kept telling myself I was overthinking, that maybe she was just stressed or bored. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing her piece by piece. A few days later, I decided to follow my gut and check her phone again when she wasn't around. I wasn't proud of it, but at that point I needed to know for sure. I slipped her phone out of her purse while she was at work, and that's when I saw it. Messages exchanged late at night, flirty, suggestive, almost like they were planning something. The guy on the other end, her childhood rival Jason, I knew about him. We all did. He was the guy she used to hate, always trying to steal her attention back in high school. The guy who always had some slick story or some way of making her laugh. I never liked him, never trusted him. And now it was obvious she'd been sneaking around with him. My mind raced. I couldn't believe it. How long had this been going on? She told me she was working late last week, and suddenly I remembered her phone being inconsistent, wiped conversations, strange notifications. I felt my chest tighten with anger and betrayal. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I had to plan it, pull her aside, and get some answers. The thing is, Lisa always had a way of lying her way out of things. She'd come up with some excuse, a story that made me question my own judgment. But this, I had the evidence, clear as day. That night I sat in the dark, holding her phone and feeling like I'd just been kicked in the gut. All those years of trust shattered in one swipe of a screen. I kept thinking about Jason and Lisa's past, how they'd always had this weird rivalry, a mixture of contempt and unresolved tension. And now, she was cheating on me with him. The man who used to be her enemy, her childhood rival. I was furious but also numb. I felt like I was watching my life fall apart piece by piece, and I didn't know what to do next. I knew I couldn't just let this go. I had to face her, but I had no idea what kind of game she was going to play when I did. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been run over by a truck. My mind kept replaying the images from her phone, those messages, over and over again. I couldn't focus on anything else. I knew I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see it. I had to confront her. The problem was, I wasn't sure how she'd react. Lisa was the kind of person who could spin a lie faster than I could say bullshit. And I knew she'd deny everything, twist it around, make me doubt my own eyes. I decided I'd catch her when she got home from work. I wanted her to know I'd found out, wanted her to face the music. When she finally walked in the door, her face was tired, but she snapped her head up when she saw the look on mine. I didn't waste time. I pulled out her phone, showed her the messages with Jason, and asked her outright, "What the hell is this, Lisa? Why are you texting him like this?" Her face contorted with irritation and a hint of panic. "Oh, that's nothing," she snapped. "Just some stupid jokes, you're blowing it out of proportion. Jason's just a childhood friend. We're not doing anything. You're overreacting as usual." She crossed her arms, giving me that sharp, bitchy glare. "You're paranoid. I don't know what you're trying to accuse me of, but I swear you're making a mountain out of a molehill. We're fine." I felt my blood boil. "You're lying," I said coldly. "I saw those messages. Don't try to deny it. You're cheating on me, Lisa, with Jason. How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes and scoffed. Seriously, you're crazy if you think I'd cheat on you. You always blow things out of proportion. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating, huh? Because I've been busy with work and I don't have time for your accusations. She looked away for a second, then added, maybe you're just jealous of Jason because he's better looking than you. That was the moment I realized I was dealing with someone who cared more about covering her ass than being honest. Her lies kept coming, each more pathetic than the last. But I wasn't going to let her spin her way out of this one. I knew then that this wasn't a fight I could win with words alone. I needed to think, to plan my next move carefully. Because the truth was, I was already hurt beyond measure and the betrayal had cut deep. I left her standing there, still denying everything, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. I didn't sleep that night. All I could do was reflect on what this meant for us, for our marriage. And more than anything, I was starting to realize that I'd been blind, trusting her, giving her the benefit of the doubt, while she was out there with my childhood rival, plotting her next move. I knew this was far from over. Over the next few days, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. Every time Lisa left the house, I'd check her phone again, hoping to find more evidence, more proof that I wasn't just imagining things. But honestly, part of me wanted her to slip up, to make a mistake so I wouldn't have to wonder anymore. The worst part, I still loved her. That's what made this so damn confusing. How could someone I trusted so deeply turn out to be this cold, this manipulative? One afternoon, she came home early, which was weird because she always worked late on Thursdays. She looked nervous, like she'd been caught doing something wrong. She was trying to act normal but kept stealing glances at her phone as if she was hiding something. I felt my temper flare. I couldn't take it anymore. I followed her into the living room and sat down on the couch, just staring at her. She finally snapped. "What do you want? I told you I'm tired of your accusations." I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Lisa, I found the messages. I know you've been lying to me. I know you're cheating on me with Jason. How long has this been going on? And don't lie to me. This time I deserve an honest answer." Her face twisted with anger. "First of all, I'm not cheating on you. Second, Jason's just a stupid idiot trying to stir trouble. You really believe everything you see on that phone. You're so insecure, it's pathetic. I don't have to justify myself to you. Maybe if you weren't so paranoid, you'd see that I still love you. But you're always accusing me of stuff, and honestly, I'm sick of it." That was the moment I realized her lies were just getting worse. Her deflection, her insults, her denial, it was all a way to keep me from seeing the truth. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I felt a mix of rage, heartbreak, and a deep sense of betrayal. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she turn me into the villain after all these years? I wanted to break down, scream, cry, but I held it all in. I needed to be calm. I needed to decide what to do next. And deep down, I knew I couldn't keep pretending this was just a misunderstanding. I had enough evidence now, enough pain, enough lies. The trust was gone. I just didn't know if I had the strength to save what was left, or if it was already too late. Something had to give, and I was starting to see that I might have to face the fact that this marriage was over. That night, I sat alone in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The way she lied, the way she looked at me like I was the crazy one. I felt a cold emptiness settle over me, like I'd lost a part of myself I'd never get back. All those memories, all those years, felt meaningless now. I kept asking myself how I missed the warning signs, how I didn't see that Lisa was capable of this kind of deception. I thought I knew her, thought we were solid. But in reality, she'd been hiding a side of herself I didn't even know. By morning, I decided I couldn't do this anymore. I needed to know what I was really fighting for. I made up my mind to confront her one last time, to get her to tell the truth once and for all. I wanted her to admit everything. Her affair, her feelings for Jason, everything she'd been hiding. Because I wasn't going to keep living in this nightmare where I was the fool who trusted someone who only wanted to betray him. When she woke up that morning, I was already waiting in the living room. She looked surprised to see me awake so early, but I didn't care. I told her flat out, "Lisa, I've had enough of your lies. I want the truth now. Are you cheating on me? With Jason? Be honest, or I'm done listening to your bullshit." She looked at me with that bitchy smirk she always used when she was trying to manipulate a situation. "You're overreacting, Mike. You always blow things out of proportion. I told you, Jason means nothing. We're just friends who are trying to clear the air. You're insecure. Honestly, I don't know why I even married a guy like you if you're going to be so paranoid all the time." I felt my fists clench. "Stop lying," I said, voice cold. "I saw the messages. I saw what you've been doing behind my back." "How long has this been going on?" Her eyes narrowed. "Look, I don't owe you explanations if you're so obsessed with me cheating. Maybe it's you who's got the problem. I have a life too, you know. I don't need your stupid accusations every day. Maybe I should just leave, see how you deal with that." That was the final straw. I'd reached my breaking point. All the pain, the betrayal, everything hit me like a freight train. I realized then that she'd been lying the entire time, that her love was just a game she'd been playing with Jason and herself. I felt a strange mix of relief and despair. It was over, and I knew I needed to get out of this toxic mess. I told her to leave, and she did, with one last sneer, promising she'd be fine without me. As she walked out, I stood there feeling hollow. I knew I'd have to pick up the pieces of my shattered trust eventually, but right now I just needed to breathe. I learned a brutal lesson about trust, deception, and how sometimes the people you love the most can turn out to be your biggest enemies. And as much as it hurt, I realized I had to start rebuilding my life from scratch, even if that meant doing it alone. In the days that followed, I felt like I was walking through a fog of pain and confusion. The house was eerily quiet without her, and every little thing reminded me of what I'd lost. I kept asking myself where I went wrong, how I missed all the signs, and why I ever trusted someone who clearly never cared about me the way I thought she did. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered how I'd ever recover from it. But slowly I started to realize something. I wasn't the only one who'd been betrayed. I'd been betrayed by someone I loved and trusted, but I also saw that I deserved better. I deserved honesty, respect, and someone who wouldn't lie to my face and then try to gaslight me into believing I was the crazy one. The hardest part was letting go of the hope that she'd change, that she'd come back and admit everything. But that hope was dead. I finally understood that I had to accept the reality. She was gone, and I was left to pick up the pieces. It hurt like hell, but I knew that holding onto her would only keep me stuck in the past. I started focusing on myself, on healing, on figuring out what I really wanted from life. It wasn't easy. There were nights I couldn't sleep, mornings I woke up feeling empty, and days I wondered if I'd ever trust again. But I also knew that this pain wouldn't last forever. Time would heal, and I'd find a way to move on. Looking back, I realize I learned some tough lessons. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. Lies and deception can come from the people you least expect, and sometimes the only way to save yourself is to walk away. I also learned that revenge isn't worth it. I thought about confronting Jason, about making him suffer for what he did, but I realized that would only make me worse. The real victory was in choosing to let go, choosing myself over the chaos and betrayal. Now, I'm rebuilding my life. I've started seeing friends more, focusing on my job, and even trying to reconnect with old passions I'd forgotten about. It's not easy, and I still have days where I feel angry or stupid for trusting her for so long, but I know this pain is part of the process. It's making me stronger, more aware of what I want, and what I absolutely won't tolerate again. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to understand, it's this. Never ignore the signs of betrayal, and don't be afraid to walk away when someone shows you who they really are. Because in the end, your happiness and self-respect are what matter most. You can rebuild after heartbreak, step by step, day by day, and trust me, it gets better.